Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome to the second episode of our 10K Science Per Minute expansion. I've added a mod called text plates that allows you to make text out of iron or copper or concrete or whatever. So I decided to use that to label the grids rather than the combinators I had there before. And I had a good suggestion to use letters for one of the axes so that it's easy for us to refer to any particular grid location. So I've changed the x-axis to letters A through M, and then the y remains numbers 1 through 13. So if I wanted to refer to the location of green science, for example, that would be cell G6 or grid square G6. Let's call them cells. That makes sense to me. What else? I've decided that I want to put I think we should do nuclear fuel processing as one of our first priorities, because as I start to build all this stuff, I'm going to need more and more power. And I'm already using as much of the power in the original base as I'm comfortable. So I don't want to push it too much. So I'd like to focus on setting up nuclear fuel production first, and then we can get into, and then we can get into starting to build the rest of the base. Now, this is my second attempt recording this episode. I was recording yesterday, and we had 3 different people come to the house while I was recording. And if you know anything about my dogs, my little terrier Mix goes absolutely nuts whenever anybody rings the doorbell. And then my standard poodle, who's normally a very chill dog, also gets excited because my other dog is going crazy, and then she starts barking. And so I had to pause probably 3 or 4 times, and then, one of the visitors was here for me, so my wife came in the room, and anyway. So after about 40 minutes, I was like, well, this just wasn't meant to be, and I just deleted it. So I'm kind of starting over. I don't remember exactly everything that I talked about before, so if this episode is a little bit disjointed, then I will ask your forgiveness. I'll do my best. So we talked about base planning in the last episode. We talked about the different train configuration that I'm going to be using. Now, one issue that we need to contend with is the way that TSM manages refueling for the trains is going to present us with a bit of a problem. And that is because when a train needs refueling, it looks for a station called train stop with a number at the end. And that number at the end is based on how many locomotives it has facing in the same direction. So that's why these trains, for example, are going to go, when they need fuel, they're going to look for fuel stop 4, right? Because they have 4 locomotives. And it doesn't matter where the locomotives are, as long as they're all facing the same direction. So if we had a 2-ended train, so if we had 4 here and 4 in the other direction, it would still look for train stop 4, okay? Or fuel stop 4, just because that's the way that TSM is written to work. These trains also have 4 locomotives facing in the same direction. So these trains are going to seek out the same fuel stop as these trains. But obviously, I need the fuel loading to be in a different position. I don't want any fuel going into cargo wagons, right? So this presents a little bit of a dilemma, because in the vanilla game, there's no way to figure out which position has a locomotive and which position has a cargo wagon. There's nothing built into the game that will do that. Now, there is a mod that we can use called Inventory Sensor that I've used in I think I used it in my Factorio series, maybe another one. But there's a mod called Inventory Sensor where you can put a combinator next to the rail and it will detect whatever is in the unit that's in front of it. So it'll detect whether it's a wagon or a tanker or a locomotive. It'll even tell you the contents of that specific wagon if you need that information. So that's one option. And then we can we could hook that signal up to the inserter so that the inserters only work if it's a locomotive in front of it. Okay, so that would be one option. Another option would be to put a refueling station over in the new grid that's designed for the new trains and make it so that none of the trains from the original grid will ever want to go over to the new grid and vice versa. So even if a train, say a train was right here and it needed to be refueled, I wouldn't want it to come over here and refuel. I would want it to go, way over here to refuel. Now that's farther, but one thing you can do in Factorio is you can, or one thing I could do on this section of rail that connects the two grids, I could put a bunch of train stations like that along the path and just give them whatever name. Because any train station that's on a path that a train might want to take applies a penalty to that path when the train is doing its pathfinding algorithm. So if I put a bunch of stations there, every station I put on that section of rail is going to add 1,000 length to the algorithm that the train is using. So if I put a bunch of them there in both directions, that should prevent any trains from wanting to cross over to the other side for refueling, right? And then I could have fuel stop 4 over here, set up this way, fuel stop 4 over here, set up the other way. I think that would work. But fortunately, the author of the mod, of the train supply manager mod, is on my Discord channel, and so I asked him about it, and he said that he would actually try to make an update to his mod that gives us the ability to read the train configuration from the station. So, for example, so when a train goes to refueling stop, you could read a signal from the station that would tell you, the position of the wagons and the locomotives on that particular train. So if we get that done, that would be great, because then I won't need another mod, and that'll help keep my UPS under control. So that was very nice of him. Pardon me. That's Lord Kator, who wrote the mod. So I thought that was very nice of him to offer to do that, and we'll just wait and see if it's something he's able to get done. But in the meantime, we'll use one of the other methods that I mentioned. What else? I think those were the main things I wanted to discuss before we get started. I did set up my first iron mine, and as you can see, I built this on an existing ore patch. I think what I'm going to do in this series is because I have such a high level of mining productivity now, I'm going to try to use the natural ore patches rather than making my own like I did in the previous series. So that's I've set up this one that way, right? So I'm just using the regular ore patch with a mining productivity bonus of 560%. That means that every one piece of ore that I take out of the ground, I'm going to get 5.6 additional ones, right? So even though this ore patch says it's 120 million, with the current level of productivity, I'll actually get, over a billion. Well, no, not over a billion. Something like 600 million pieces of ore out of the ground. And that should help make the patches last a lot longer. So we'll see. But I am going to reserve the right to, when this gets mined out, if it gets mined out, rather than making more mines, I might just go in with the creative mod tool and create some more patches like I did before. You know, it's just a matter of, I mean, setting up mining outposts is not terribly interesting for me or for you. So I may still do that. Another thing I was mentioning in the deleted episode is the fact that with this new train setup, I do need more beacons, which is, I guess, one of the disadvantages, right? So you can see here I have 18 beacons per side when all the wagons are next to one another. But with the new train configuration, I actually need 24. So that's 6 more beacons per side. It's not a lot more, but it is, you know, it is somewhat significant. Just because for these drills on the end, to get 3 beacons like all the other ones, I need to have beacons where the locomotives are, which is a bit of a waste, right? But at this point, beacons and modules are fairly easy to come by. So, and then these, I displaced these stations a bit so I could stay on top of the ore patch. Right, so we'll see how this goes. The other thing is I'm gonna, to prevent confusion between the mining locations on the original grid and the new grid, I'm gonna label the new ones with letters rather than numbers. Okay, so instead of, you know, iron mine 1, 2, and 3, I'll have A, B, C, D, and so on, just to help keep things straight in my mind. All right, so on to nuclear fuel. I have extended the grid north. I decided to put it here in cell A8 because number one, there is a uranium patch there that I can start with. And also there are 2 uranium patches very close by so that if I need more uranium, I can bring in more by train to this section. So I'm going to use this particular grid for my uranium processing area. And I've already worked out the particulars. Again, I'm just assuming that I'm going to need 4 times as much power. I don't think I'm going to need that much because I'm not doing military science on this base, but we'll just plan for it anyway. And that brings up the subject of power, which I haven't really discussed before. I was thinking of using solar, since solar has a minimal UPS impact. But solar would require tons and tons of production. I think I did the calculations. I think to get a gigawatt, you need like 150,000 solar panels and close to the same number of accumulators, something like that. It's pretty ridiculous. So I decided I would just stick with nuclear. If it becomes a big problem, if nuclear becomes a big problem, then we can switch to solar at that point. Or we can look for some mods that will, give us Mark II reactors or something where we can make more power with the same number of reactors, something like that. I prefer not to use mods for that if I can avoid it. But, if I'm already consuming 40 gigawatts and then I have to switch to solar, I'm going to have to let the game run AFK for like 3 days just to build 20 million solar panels, which will be kind of crazy. So we'll see how it goes. But for now, the plan is to use nuclear. So in this case, it would be 672 reactors. They would require 202 fuel cells per minute. So for that, we can build that with one machine if we've got modules and 4 beacons on it. We'll also be reprocessing the same number of fuel cells per minute. Okay, so we're going to need 21 machines doing that. That'll give us some of the uranium-238 back. 2 machines doing Covarex enrichment. Doesn't seem like very much, but that by itself will give us 14.4 uranium per minute, which is essentially everything that we need for the fuel cells. But that's with 12 beacons. Okay. It seems like a lot of machines now because with our current setup, I only have 1 beacon affecting each machine, so that's why I've got so many more. But we'll do a fully beacon setup in this case. Oops, sorry. And then 5 machines doing uranium processing, again with 12 beacons each. And that'll make, this is essentially to make the uranium-238, right? And that'll also give us a little bit of excess with 5 machines. I got the number as close as I could to exactly what we need. So between this uranium-238 and this uranium-238, that'll give us everything we need to make the fuel cells. And then we'll need 17 mining drills to get the uranium ore to keep all of this running. That's with the current level of productivity. So the number of mining drills will continue to decrease over time. I think that's about it. Although I should also plan for some additional uranium production for our train fuel. So I think I'm actually going to double this. Let's make 4 machines. And that is telling me, okay, I need to remove the limit on this. All right, so I'm going to need, no, this is not right. Why didn't that change? So I need 1.7 to make 14.4. Okay, so if I double that, double that, yeah, see, this isn't right. The amount of product didn't change at all, even though I'm doubling the number of machines. Who understands this? Okay, well, honestly, I just really don't understand this mod sometimes. All right, so I'm just going to double it manually. This is what I need for fuel cells. I'm going to double this part of it so that I get more uranium. All right, so let's go set that up. Let me grab some mining drills. And some centrifuges, which I'm making down here. 29 should be enough. And let's go up to A8. Now, the other thing I'm going to need is acid. And I'm going to have to get that from, at least to begin with, I'm going to have to get it from the original base, the original grid. All right, so we're going to need to clear out some trees. Well, first let's get our input stacker, because I'm going to need stations for I'm going to need a station for uranium ore and a station for acid and iron plate to come in. All right, so here's a question. Do you guys want me to all right, so radar goes here. Let me know if you guys want me to clear all the trees and rocks from every grid, or if you want me to leave trees and rocks wherever I can. I won't take them out yet. I'll wait for your feedback. Okay, so I'm going to need 1 fluid and 2 solids coming in. That's 2 fluids and 1 solid. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to redesign these stations anyway. One, two, three. Let's find one that has 3. Okay, this one's got 3 stations. So let's just go ahead and copy this. And I'm just going to eliminate all the belts and inserters and everything else. Yeah. I'll just keep the rail and the signals. Since the trains are different, I'm going to have to rebuild. I'm going to have to reconfigure these stations the first time that I build them. Okay, and that was this one, right? And then we can copy this little output section there. Okay. So these trees and rocks for sure need to go. All right. Now let's copy one of these trains. Minus the fuel. All right, and what I want to do is I want to get the center of the train in the center of the grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the center. The center of the train would be right here, I suppose. All right, so the trains, we want the trains to stop right about there. Which means I want my, I'll just use regular train stops for now. I want my stations to go there. Okay, I'll bring those signals forward. All right. And then I will delete and then undelete to get rid of the ghosts. And I'll pick those up. Okay, and those did... Alright, so I need to move back the rear section then as well. Okay, so let's move that back there. And let's see if that is enough room. Yes. Okay, good. And then maybe I can make the exit. Yeah, so we can, now we can make this exit a little more elegant. There, I like that better. Okay. Very nice. All right, so we'll need uranium, acid, and iron. I think I'll do uranium on top. Okay, what is this thing called? Uranium fuel cell. Okay. And then uranium ore. Unload. Right? I think that's the nomenclature I'm using. Yeah. Okay, so let's copy that, copy that. All right, so we'll make this one the iron plate. You know what? I'm also going to need... I'm also going to need to bring in the spent fuel cells. But I'll do that with the same train that I'm delivering the big ones, or the big ones. the fuel cells, like I'm doing here. I'll just do 1-1 train for the, or maybe I'll do a 1-2 train. I'll have one wagon for the fuel and a second wagon for the spent fuel cells. Looks like I'm starting to get backed up over here. Okay, so that'll be on the output section. Okay, and then this one will be fluid sulfuric acid. There. Okay. So for the acid, we're going to have pumps. These don't line up precisely, do they? No, especially not on that second wagon. Well, I'll just get it as close to the middle as I can. Actually, let's count tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Now this is for the mining. I don't actually need it. Once I start bringing it in by train, then I'm not going to need it anymore. Or if I start to bring it by train. Maybe I won't need to, because if I only need 16 drills here. Let's see. That's 5, 10. Here, let's just make them 4s so I can do there. That's all the mining that I need. And we'll try to center it. All right, and then I'll put one extra one on each, you know, so if one of the drills mines out, I've still got some extra mining capacity. All right, let's just do 2 more. There we go. Okay. So that's all the acid is for. And so what I'm thinking is if I design it from the beginning to unload from a train, then what I'll do is with this mining, I'll load it into those chests as if it was coming from a train. Or I can just merge it into the belts. And I think this is the only case where I'm not going to try to have 8 columns. Okay, well, let's get the mining set up, since that's the first thing that we need to do. Okay, I'll put one pump here on the output. All right. Let me move these up. I can cover 2 stations with one set of substations, right? If I put them up here. All right, and then we'll put a light next to each wagon, as I like to do, because it looks nice. Okay, that one's powered up. That one's powered up. And that's powered up. Okay, so now let's figure out how we're going to get the acid over here. For now, right? Obviously, once I have refineries here, I'll get the acid from within the current grid. But until then, let me just show you. I'm using these text plates to label each grid square, starting with this one. So this one's A8. That way, from map view, we can easily figure out what's what. So I think what I'll do now is I will make a transfer station where I unload one of my 4-8 trains into one of my 1-2 trains, and then I'll send the 1-2 train over. All right, and I think I'll do that over here. Okay, so I'm already bringing in lubricant. So let's copy that. But I want to copy it on the lower station. Okay, and then this, we're going to have to move over. We're going to have to move it over more. Okay, there we go. Okay, and let's see, I'm going to need a fluid requester here. Yeah. All right. Okay, and we'll set this to sulfuric acid equals 0, and then it'll request a train. Okay. All right. Let's figure out the best way to do this. I'm actually going to remove these pumps for now. Well, all right. Let me get a train. So I need 4 locos, and I need 8 fluid wagons. Okay, there we go. Okay, and let's get 24. No, 12. All right, so now I have to figure out how to pump these into those tanks. Yeah, so I think I will get rid of these pumps, and I'll just try to pipe it. Okay, those two are easy. The rest of them are going to be a little more difficult. Okay, not too bad. Okay, now I think that this thing might not ever get completely full on a single train. Because you can see that the tanks are not, they're not exactly emptying completely. Right, this says it's 25K, but I don't think it's really completely full. Because we have tiny little bits left in these tanks. So we'll have this, let's see. Ooh, you can't select fluids. There we go. So let's just have it wait here until it's 199,000. Okay, that'll be close enough. Oh, okay. Or we could say until it's full. There we go. That's fine. All right, and then from there, we go to this one. Okay, these have different names, fortunately. All right, good. Yeah, with these I'm using uranium ore instead of the nuclear fuel, so that should help keep things straight. All right, good. Okay, great. And now we're mining. Okay, well, we've already gone over time, so we will do the rest of this in the next episode, I think. So this belt of ore is going to feed into 5 centrifuges. I think we'll merge these 2 belts, since it'll be less than a blue belt all put together. All right, and we'll finish up in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.